Question: You administer a Microsoft SQL Server instance. After a routine shutdown, the drive that contains temp fails. You need to be able to start the SQL Server. What should you do? Option A. Modify temp location and startup parameters. Option B. Start SQL Server in minimal configuration mode. Option C. Start SQL Server in single user mode. Option D. Configure SQL Server to bypass Windows application logging. The correct answer is option B. Question: You administer a single server that contains a Microsoft SQL Server default instance. You plan to install a new application that requires the deployment of a database on the server. The application login requires sysadmin permissions. You need to ensure that the application login is unable to access other production databases. What should you do? Option A. Use the SQL Server default instance and configure an affinity mask. Option B. Install a new named SQL Server instance on the server. Option C. Use the SQL Server default instance and enable contained databases. Option D. Install a new default SQL Server instance on the server. The correct answer is option B. Question: You administer a Microsoft SQL Server database. The database contains a product table created by using the following definition image. You need to ensure that the minimum amount of disk space is used to store the data in the product table. What should you do? Option A. Convert all indexes to column store indexes. Option B. Implement Unicode compression. Option C. Implement row-level compression. Option D. Implement page-level compression. The correct answer is option D. Question: You administer a Microsoft SQL Server failover cluster that contains two nodes named Node A and Node. Option B. A single instance of SQL Server is installed on the cluster. An additional node named Node C has been added to the existing cluster. You need to ensure that the SQL Server instance can use all nodes of the cluster. What should you do? Option A. Run the new SQL Server standalone installation wizard on Node. Option C. Option B. Run the Add Node to SQL Server failover cluster wizard on Node. Option C. Option C. Use Node B to install SQL Server on Node. Option C. Option D. Use Node A to install SQL Server on Node. Option C. The correct answer is option B.